Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Jacob Silverman, author of the upcoming book Gilded Rage, Elon Musk, and the Radicalization of Silicon Valley, co-writer of the AM Quickie at amquickie.com.
Woohoo.
Here to talk to us about poop coins.
Ugh. More poop talk
Then
here.
Usamah Andrabi, the communications director and spokesperson for Justice Democrats, on their plans to at least take over parts of the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Donald Trump supporting police union upset because Donald Trump pardoned many January 6th rioters who beat up cops. Couple died. Meanwhile, Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth's ex-sister-in-law, in a sworn affidavit testimony, in other words, not anonymous, says Hegseth abused his second wife. And if you're following at home, this is the wife that Pete Hegseth's mother also said was getting abused by Pete Hegseth, until her husband told her she should think twice before she puts anything to paper.
Getting emotional.
What percentage of women close to Pete Hegseth have now spoken out?
High yield here.
Trump administration begins its assault on the administrative state. DOJ career lawyers are shuffled around. Schedule F executive order catches a lawsuit. And meanwhile, all federal workers ensuring diversity in departments are put on leave. Trump also rescinded a decades-old equity in government federal contracts directive. Trump kills initiatives to develop new plans to lower prescription drug prices because
Big pharma.
Trump pardons owner of Silk Road. He was convicted of conspiring to distribute narcotics, to money launder.
That was the Libertarian Party's big ask.
Yep. Costco workers authorize a national strike. 18,000 Teamsters. Meanwhile, Trump expands ICE ability to arrest in churches and schools and expedites deportations. 24 states and cities sue Trump over his bid to end birthright citizenship. And Trump orders a pause on our federal health agencies from communicating with each other or issuing public reports. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, in this shortened week for us. It is
Hump Day.
Still Hump Day.
Yes.
Says Emma Vigeland, back from her.
Yes. Thanks for holding it down for me yesterday.
When you could not.
Well, I could not.
All right, sorry about
when
that.
my
I couldn't
fiance
help myself.
was sick on Friday,
couldn't
I
help
had a feeling it was coming around the corner, and that is it.
The norovirus is around these days. So, but you know what else is also around is the bird flu, and but you will not be reading about it from the CDC report that was going to be issued on it this week, because of course our health agencies are not allowed to communicate publicly with the public right now, or to communicate with each other. I'm sure that won't be an issue.
That just crossing our fingers here, crossing our fingers.
Ignorance is bliss.
I want to get into this clip because we got a lot to talk about today. And we're going to have a lot to talk about every day. But before we get into this clip, I think apropos of this clip is important. Hamilton Nolan, the labor reporter, now writing at a Substack, How Things Work, worth checking out. He's got a great essay, I guess, entitled Land of Greater Fools. And he said, and he writes that a bedrock of investing is the greater fool theory, which essentially says that even if you paid a foolish price for something, it can still work out as long as you find a greater fool to sell it to. And what he's talking about is this idea that there are politicians, there are commentators, there are union leaders, there are governors who think that they can, they can sort of trick or flatter Donald Trump or get on his good side so that they provide for their one issue that they're trying to get ahead on. And he says this is a mistake. He writes, the problem with this impulse is that inherent in the hope of working with this guy is the accompanying understanding that you must not try as hard as you can to smash the guy at the same time. You can't say Donald Trump is a loathsome fascist and then say in the next breath, we look forward to crafting a worker-friendly trade policy with you, sir. Yet, hey, guess who the people who are who collectively all nurturing all of these disparate hopes of winning on their pet issues? Mm-hmm. They are the opposition. We are entering an age of gangster-style fascism. We're going to need all the opposition we can get. If most of the opposition is busy flattering itself that they can soften Trump on this or that, they're not doing their most important work, trying to destroy his entire political project. That political project is, I remind you, one of destroying the rest of us. An opposition that can't dedicate itself to being the opposition is a weak opposition indeed, and Trump has always enjoyed weak opposition. If you think you are a savvy politician because you got Trump on your side regarding congestion pricing, and meanwhile he's stripping thousands of your citizens of their birthright citizenship, you're wrong. If you think that you're a savvy union leader because you got Trump to a little better place on trade, and meanwhile he is stripping every woman in your union of her right to an abortion, you are wrong. If you think that you are a savvy liberal writer because you cajoled Trump into a little better place on foreign policy, and meanwhile he's telling your trans friends that the government will no longer legally recognize their identity, you are wrong. You have made a miscalculation. You have not taken in the full picture of what you're dealing with here. You have been sold a worthless little bauble in exchange for something real. You have not done the math. You are the greater fool. The bad guys are in charge right now. You can't triangulate your way out of this. All you can do is fight. And I think this captures both a problem we're seeing with the supposed opposition, and it certainly, I think, echoes our sentiments around here.
Yep. That
we will, we're not going to give an inch, and any little gains you think you can get in one place or another are Pyrrhic victories, and they come at an extreme cost. And it seems apropos because here is an example of someone, and let's be clear, right? She's a bishop,
Antifa member,
a person of is she?
No.
Oh, well,
no.
maybe, I don't know. But she's a person of God, I guess, and so they're a lot more polite than you or I might be. But this was pretty impressive. Her words, first of all, it takes a lot of guts. I suspect that the next time Trump wants to visit church, he's not going to be doing it here. What was he doing here?
It was some sort of...
It was the inaugural prayer
official,
service. Okay.
Right,
emanating
prayer
sulfur.
Service.
Yeah. So this is, and where is this taking place? Is it in, it appears to be in a church.
It's in a church. It's in D.C. I think this is just one of the other formal
So there's an inaugural prayer service.
And ceremonies.
She
was at the National Cathedral in Washington.
And so she ended up being one of the speakers. She's a bishop. And I would imagine of like a Unitarian thing or something. I don't know. What's really fascinating is to watch the various figures, Episcopal, and to watch the various figures as they hear these words land.
Particularly J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance is the one who cannot control himself.
He's like a teenager in school who wants to make fun of the person speaking at the assembly
or something.
And his girlfriend next to him is like, I take this very seriously. AKA his wife, who he looks like he's humiliating here by acting like a little asshole.
And I want to also just suggest that as much as he comes off as a petulant child, understand he's the second most powerful person in the country. Mm-hmm. And by at this point, if you had to handicap anything, he's going to be the next president. This guy, Donald Trump, understands the value of attacking marginalized people for his agenda, which is to enrich himself. But J.D. Vance is a believer. And this, I think you can see it here.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God.
Did I say that?
In the name of our God.
That's a good line.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families.
You can't abide the children.
Can you believe
Some
she's bringing
who
up
fear for their
children?
lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants.
Pause it.
Rolling his eyes.
And he's looking. The amazing thing is he's looking to his wife for some type of validation. Like, can you believe this shit? Can you believe that she's bringing up children and migrant workers? And
she's like, there's cameras.
It's like it's either his wife is just more actually caring, like an actual human being, or she's just more savvy than this guy.
Has been in a church before. I don't know just if JD's religious or not. I can't remember what his line is.
Oh, he's a hardcore. I think he's close to Opus Dei.
I'm a Catholic who went to church like every Sunday, and it's very often you hear things from the pulpit that you might want to like look for a reaction shot to. You learn to suppress that urge.
Well, he looks like he's a late Catholic convert, I believe. I believe he converted later in life. But I mean, his wife, like, he is basically unable to hide his contempt, and she's like, just keep it together while the cameras are on.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the car on the way home.
What's also interesting, though, if you look around there, right? Like Eric Trump, he knows better than to show. He's complete poker face, just staring right at her. Donald Trump, every time she says something that is true, he sort of closes his eyes, looks down, and be like, well, I'll take the slings and arrows because I've been doing it. So she's right. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to stop.
Right.
The woman behind, what is her?
That is Lara Trump next to Eric.
No, I'm talking the woman
Tiffany.
behind Vance's wife. What is her name?
That's Tiffany Trump.
Oh, on the right? The behind Vance's wife?
Yes.
I don't know who she is.
She is looking over to see how Trump is reacting.
I think that's his daughter, his granddaughter.
And you know that she's like, I can't believe my grandfather is Donald Trump. But what are you going to do? I'll have to wait until I'm out of school. I just don't want to lose my inheritance.
Wait, is that his granddaughter who Don Jr. made that creepy comment about and sexualized her on social media? Anyway, that could be one of them. It's one of them.
But really, this is all about J.D. Vance and looking at how just sort of disgusted he is to be actually called out about this. Go ahead.
Pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals.
You got nothing.
They may not be citizens.
She ignores him.
Or have the proper
She's so pissed at him right now.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes
Check out the
and
program.
are good neighbors. They are faithful members
And now he
of
looks to
our
Trump. Are you
churches
handling
and
this?
mosques,
Yes.
Like,
Everybody's a
can you be my wife
effing
now?
adult, you moron.
and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities
Who is this
Laura
person?
was
whose
big eye
children
roll
fear
back
that
there.
their parents will be taken away. And that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
I mean, great sentiment.
Braver than 90 to 95% of Democrats right now, basically.
And she, she specifically addressed it right at the end to the president. Very impressive. And also, the value of that is it's not like we didn't know who J.D. Vance was or Donald Trump or any of these people, but it is revealing. It is the more information that we can have, the more we can get a sense of how much is inspired by what, the better for our being in opposition to these people.
But maybe Trump learned something, right? Do you have any sense of where he's at on this? Because, oh, wait, he did do a Truth Social. And maybe he said, I reflected on these words and I've learned something. Oh, just kidding. He called her the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. Nasty. She was nasty. He's bringing that back. She's a nasty woman and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Blah, 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 blah. So,
many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. Yeah, this is his boilerplate stuff. Yeah. It's a giant crime wave taking the
Trump
U.S.
AI wrote this.
Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one.
That's true.
She's not very good at job. And she and her church owe the public an apology. I mean,
T.
What?
Big T.
That's my name. That's his nickname.
Big T. Look at what this congressman from Georgia had to say about the person giving the sermon should be added to the deportation list. The idea that people were so the idea that first of all, nothing could be richer than a Trump supporter or a Republican saying, how could you mix politics and religion? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, Trump is the prosperity gospel president.
I mean, if there was no mixing of politics and religion, the Republican Party would not exist. All you would have is J.D. Vance's facial hair and Donald Trump's orange spray. There'd be no Republican Party without the mixing of religion and politics. None. Zero.
At the inauguration yesterday, Donald Trump said that he was saved by God to be president again, basically referring to the assassination attempt. He invokes religious iconography and presents himself as a cult leader and almost Jesus-like figure to his followers. It's intrinsic to his appeal.
He was elected the first time around because he brought around Christian evangelicals because he had the basically installed the most powerful theocrat in our nation's history in Mike Pence as vice president. And now perhaps the second most theocratic in J.D. Vance and his Opus Dei, if not Opus Dei, his Opus Dei fundamental Catholicism that he has installed into the vice presidency. But the idea of that you didn't have every mega church out there running get out the vote programs for Donald Trump is absurd.
Yeah, they should just be demonizing women who get abortions.
But the other thing is that, religion is inherently political. That's the other thing. So, but certainly the Republican Party, their entire notion of hierarchy, their entire notion of fealty to a biblical version of gender, part of which is made up on top of the fact that the Bible's also made up. I hate to break it to you folks. And is just absurd. But good for this bishop. This is the kind of religion I can get behind.
100%.
Meantime, we're going to be speaking to Jacob Silverman, author of the upcoming book, Gilded Rage, Elon Musk and the Radicalization of Silicon Valley, well-timed, co-writer of the AM Quickie newsletter, and then Usamah Andrabi, communications director and spokesperson for Justice Democrats. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. New year, as you know, 2025. And you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? Maybe you want to be your own boss. Maybe you want to do a side hustle. You don't know how to make it happen. Well, Shopify is how you're going to make it happen. And let me tell you how. The best time for you to start your new business is right now. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be a designer. All you need to do is drag and drop. They got powerful social media tools that let you connect all your channels, create shoppable posts, help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easier for you to manage your growing business. They help with details like shipping, taxes, payments, from one single dashboard, allows you to focus on the important stuff like growing your business. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? Probably. Probably in 6 months ago, I should have started 6 months ago. But the best time to do it is now. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. That was that was basically what happened when I started this show. And more or less for a long time, we didn't have a merch store. And I was like, it's going to be too much of a pain in the butt. Shopify made it easy for us. It's turnkey. We come up with an idea. The hardest part is actually just like voting on what is the logo going to be.
Right.
But then we put up the new material and bingo, bango. Super easy. Oh, incidentally, even at that store right now, we got a sale on the dog collars.
Pause it.
Julie was like, we got to get these dog collars. I'm like, just, I don't know, drop the price $2. And boom, done in a second. Very easy. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/majority. All lowercase, go to shopify.com/majority. Start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/majority. Also sponsoring the program today, HelloFresh. I love HelloFresh. I'll go back and forth. Sometimes I'll get like the pre-made. HelloFresh has the pre-made now too. But for me, the best part about HelloFresh is I get to make a home-cooked meal with about 98% of the hassle gone. I don't have to go shopping. And they have one pan dishes.
Very
so I don't have to clean up a lot.
Easy.
We don't have that much extras because the portions are exactly right. And I hate having food waste. It makes me I can't handle it. And if you're tired of figuring out what's for dinner night after night, especially on those busy weekdays, this is the way to get dinner done the easy way. We want to thank HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for supporting the Majority Report. And here's an offer from HelloFresh. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/majority10FM. That's majority10FM. You can find over 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week. They're delivered to your door. They get a lineup of prep and baked meals come together with a minimal mess and only 5 minutes of prep. So your oven does most of the work, not for you. HelloFresh's 15-minute meals are done in just 3 simple steps, so you can better eat this year without the hassle. I'm pretty sure these are all either the 15 or 20 minutes, the ones that I have been doing, because I'm just not going to do more. But I did a black bean quesadilla, a pork with a soy, like a pork bowl type of thing, and a chicken, fajita tacos.
Very nice.
All of which super easy. The chicken fajita tacos was one pan. You can save valuable time, fewer trips to the grocery store with the HelloFresh Market. They got over 100 add-on items you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfast, packable snacks, beverages, and more. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/majority10FM. That's majority10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That it's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/majority10FM or majority10FM. Links in the podcast and YouTube descriptions, as well as at majority.fm. Reminder, do check out. We got a quick sale. It's only going to last a couple of days on these dog collars. Also great to tie up your yoga mat.
Oh,
yep.
That works.
Here we go. Look at that. Deposit ones. We should have had PAWS. All right. Quick break. And we'll come back. We'll be talking to Jacob Silverman. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program Jacob Silverman, author of the upcoming book, Gilded Rage, Elon Musk and the Radicalization of Silicon Valley, and co-writer of our very own AM Quickie newsletter, which is available at amquickie.com. It's free 3 days a week. Check it out. Jacob and Corey do a great job over there. Jacob, welcome back. Here's my first question. What the hell is a meme coin, and have I missed the boat on this?
No, I've been telling you have not missed a thing. I mean, only that it's come and gone extremely quickly as we expected it to, or as this kind of thing always does. But this is a classic pump and dump scheme of no different than we see actually hundreds or thousands of times a day in crypto, but also in other kinds of markets. But this is like less than a penny stock. There's no company attached to this, no cash flow. There's nothing here. It's like you'd probably, if you sold pieces of paper on a street corner with your name written on them, that would probably be more valuable. But the way these
this
things
is the
work
thing I don't understand. I understand what pump and dump is.
Sure.
Right? You have a thing that's registered on like a market, and there's ostensibly something behind it, and people say there's actually this company's actually going to be more successful than people think. And the way that we make it appear that there's a lot of people who are doing that is by a couple of people pouring a bunch of money into it, raising the value, and then other people are like, oh, I don't want to miss the bus on this. But there's a fiction that's created, but there is some basis on which to impose that fiction. Here, it's completely transparent that there's nothing there. That's the part I can't wrap my head around.
Speculation for the sake of it, for everyone to make money.
But it's speculation on nothing. It's like,
right.
I'm betting on air, this one section of air being more valuable to people than this section of air. And it's just because I call this the Sam section of air.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, there once was a pretense with crypto, or not really a pretense, an argument being put forth that certain crypto tokens or projects were more significant than others because of technical capabilities or certain plans they had, a community they built, whatever it might be. But that pretense or idea has just kind of gone away in favor of a very cynical understanding that none of these are really worth anything inherently and have anything going for them to make them worth more than one another, except for whatever hype they can lash themselves onto.
But basically what this feels like to me is this coin is now these foreign governments don't have to buy a bunch of rooms at the Trump hotel in DC and then not stay in them. Now this is just a way for foreign governments, but also other corrupting actors to just send him money for the air and that Sam is describing.
Yeah, and now Trump is diversifying and has a couple different ways with crypto to be bribed or to be sent money or have his assets artificially inflated. For one thing, he has the World Liberty Financial crypto platform, which is his name is attached to it. He has an official title, so do his sons, but it's run by a couple kind of crypto lifers who have been involved in their own shady schemes. And they sell a token that's just called World Liberty Financial Token that anyone can buy. You cannot sell it after you buy it. So you basically just hold it and do nothing with it. You're giving them money. And Justin Sun, who is a very notorious entrepreneur in the crypto world, this guy was actually supposed to bail out Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, put heavy quotes around that. That was never going to happen. But he is sort of this international crypto guy who hopscotches between jurisdictions. He's being sued by the SEC for fraud. He has put $75 million into Trump's crypto platform, just bought these World Liberty Financial tokens. This is someone who needs an SEC case to go away, who probably would not come to the US right now because of potential criminal concerns. So it could not be a more transparent situation where he is trying to get something in return. So the notions about, oh, is someone going to pay Trump off by buying his token or whatever else? Like, it's happening right now. You can look at the hypothetical being played out right now.
Okay, so wait a second. So walk us through this. I buy $75 million worth of the what is it? The WTF? Is that honest?
WLF.
The WLF a crypto coin, and I can't resell it.
No.
And so, but all I'm thinking is that, okay, I can't resell it now. There's a finite amount of these things, and they're going to become so valuable because once you buy them, you can say that you own it. And at one point, then you'll be allowed to sell them off or not. Like, and then who gets the money? Like when I pay that $75 million, who's the bank that's issuing these coins?
Yeah, so the bank is the company. Like, it's this offshore crypto company that creates the tokens on the blockchain of its choosing. In the case of the Trump coin, it's on what's called the Solana blockchain. This is a company, Solana, that is actually pretty well connected in Trump world. David Sachs is an indirect investor in Solana. For example. So
is Andreessen involved in Solana?
Yes.
Oh gosh, what a coincidence! All these guys know each other. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So, but with the case of that World Liberty Financial Token, that's issued directly by a company that is paying Trump. So Trump gets some percentage. All of the money, if the tokens are, when the tokens are issued by the company, go to the company. They're acting essentially as a bank or as an issuer of currency, and some large chunk of that then goes to Trump. And a similar effect with the Trump coin, because but it's a little different because 80% of those tokens were issued to insiders, meaning Trump and his family. So in order for people to buy that token, a lot of them will have to buy it from insiders. And that's where the dump comes from. The insiders will dump those on the market, and that's how they cash out.
Okay, so the coin thing, the meme coin, how is the meme coin different from the WLF coin?
So the meme coin is, you have this sort of typical red flag arrangement where 80% of them are set aside for insiders, not the wider public. If we're kind of a quote unquote more democratic offering, you'd have most of these for the wider public and maybe just a small amount for insiders to profit from, frankly, and investors. So the tokens that when people are buying the meme coin, they're usually buying it from someone connected to the project, meaning Trump and his allies. In the case of the World Liberty Financial, you're probably buying it directly from World Liberty Financial, which is to say basically directly from Trump.
And with Trump's meme coin, and I noticed Melania has one, and I read somewhere, and I wasn't sure about this, if this is true, but even the guy who gave the invocation at the end of the inauguration, is this true?
He posted a video right afterwards. He has his own Lorenzo coin. I probably shouldn't say the name because I don't want to shill for him. But yeah, he has his own shitcoin.
I don't feel like if people are going out and buying these coins after we talk, I feel like we've both fundamentally failed.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised.
And so basically it's just this level of like, they hold a lot of these coins. They can create the coins. They advertise these coins in times of like big MAGA enthusiasm, like the inauguration. Yes. So they inflate the price and then they sell it to a bunch of his fans and they scam him. That is the entirety of this grift, right?
Yeah. And I think what's worth noting or emphasizing is that this is something that people are very familiar with. It's just never really been the president doing it at the largest possible scale.
He's stealing ideas from the Hawk Tuah girl.
It's exactly the same thing. And that's why also a lot of people in crypto actually are uncomfortable by what they're seeing. They're very mixed reactions from the crypto industry. This. And some of them, like even some of the most hardcore pro-Trump, anti-regulatory people who I follow in crypto, they know what this is. They have seen this so many times and they don't like it because this is, bad vibes. And this is they just know that this ends in people losing money and bad press for them, and it's perhaps not so sustainable. This is going to put money in Trump's pocket, but this doesn't build anything for them, as they like to say. So that's
doesn't create trust.
A lot of discomfort out there.
So the best example of this would be like if Trump put out, which he did, I think last time he was president, a commemorative coin that is not really currency. But it looks like currency, but it's just not currency. And it costs, it's got 1/4 real silver or maybe no real silver or whatever. It's steel or whatever it is. And they sell it for $5 in a little commemorative thing. This is like that, except for they don't even have to produce the box and the actual coin. They just say it exists and it's on a ledger.
Yeah, it's so low effort. That's the thing. And that the barrier to entry could not be lower. And obviously he has resources to do this kind of stuff. There's a website called pump.fun. It's a Solana-based website where basically you can spin up a meme coin on the Solana blockchain very easily. It combines it with streaming features and chat and other stuff. And people do this thousands of times a day on there. I don't know if I don't think they use that site or service for it, but basically this again is something that it doesn't require a lot of ambition to scam people like this. This is a very low effort grift.
So you could go on there and just like get a chat going, convince 15 people, make $100, and then bye-bye. Like that's about. Is that what people are doing on this site?
And now everyone is so cynical that, you know, a lot of people are going in with sort of black pill, so to speak, where it's like, well, I know this is a scam or I know this is going to dump, but I just want to time it right and I'm going to sell to the next fucker.
I started today's episode by reading Hamilton Nolan's The Land of a Greater Fools. The greater fool theory says that even if you paid a foolish price for something, it can still work out as long as you find a greater fool to sell it to. That's the whole game. It's just everybody's like sitting there at like a carousel that's going around like this. And people are like, I'm going to be able to time this. So I get on and then get off before it does one full rotation, essentially.
Right. And economists have talked about this, that crypto is all greater fool theory. Actually, I've heard Bill Gates talk about this, say what you will about him. But, you know, that's just that's why he's not a big fan of crypto. You know, but the other thing that you see happening here is that the bag keeps getting passed around, of course, but then also they take out loans against this stuff, just like rich executives take out loans against their stock holdings. So anytime this runs up in value, you'll probably have people on Trump's side being able to take out loans, whether in dollars or crypto, against their inflated, basically worthless holdings, and then, you know, continue the game basically. And
who's issuing these loans?
Crypto companies, kind of offshore banks.
Yeah. And can you talk about the destabilizing force of this? Because I mean, we're in a level of the amount of speculation that's happening on basically worthless assets and the financialization of everything. I mean, we've talked about it in the context of gambling on their phone, how those states, young men have so much more credit card debt than in states that don't have legalized gambling on people's phones. I'm concerned about the amount of speculative money in the economy right now outside of the scamming part. Like, what are the potentials for this amount of capital invested in this like worthless speculative garbage like crypto?
Yeah, earlier, even before the election, but earlier last year, I was concerned about the run up in crypto prices because I never thought it would happen so quickly after the 2022 crash. And obviously there's the political situation where they're becoming the biggest donor to the Republican Party as an industry. But it got much worse when Trump was elected because this sort of fusion of crypto in the Republican Party and allowed crypto to start penetrating mainstream finance, I think, a lot more quickly than I expected. So the last time things crashed in 2022, it was somewhat walled off or contained. You had some retirement funds that had been investors in FTX or doing things like that, or a little bit of experimenting with stable coins and staking. But now it's come back so quickly. Like there was a bill proposed in Utah this week to invest 10% of state treasury in crypto. You know, there's talk about this national crypto stockpile of some sort, which may not be just Bitcoin. It might be politically connected coins like Solana and XRP. And now also you have yesterday there was an application filed for an ETF, which is basically a Wall Street fund, a product that's sold to all kinds of people and retirement funds for these various tokens, for these meme coins so like a Trump meme coin
ETF.
So this is like an ETF attached to someone playing blackjack. Like this is, you know, these are casinos, this is gambling.
Yep.
But it's being turned into sort of Wall Street stock products potentially if that's approved by the SEC, which under a Trump administration, anything goes. So what happens when you get like mainstream institutions investing in this stuff? It becomes pretty scary very quickly, especially as leverage and debt accumulates in the system.
And we should say, just to explain to people if they don't know, and because I certainly up until probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, did not know what an ETF was, that it's basically just an aggregate of a bunch of different sort of mini indices, I guess, pooled together and sold in a way. So, for instance, it could be a bunch of different land stocks, or it could be a bunch of different other commodity stocks, essentially. So you could get a gold ETF
Sure.
And on some level, it's just you're speculating on the price of gold. It's been around for a long time, so it has a lot more sort of stability and predictability than, poop coin or whatever it is, that they're coming up with. I want to ask you about this reserve and, what the crypto boys all wanted with Donald Trump. But here is Donald Trump yesterday. He is asked whether he intends to continue to sell crypto as president. Like, this is like the Haktua girl she's investigated for this. Maybe the investigation gets dropped. You don't want to make an example of Haktua.
Pardon.
But that's basically what he's doing, right? He's just taking his internet fame and just saying, like, here it is. It happens to be a backdoor way. There's probably a lot more value for people to buy his coin, at least like people who have, something that they want from the government, than the average rube who will also buy this thing. But here is Donald Trump answering this question.
Crypto coin the other day. Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
And he's talking, of course, about the billionaires behind him.
That's his go-to, by the way, if people don't want to go back to his last presidential term. I don't know. Anytime it's an uncomfortable question for him, he says, I don't know. You think he doesn't know that he made several $1 billion over the past 2 days?
You think he didn't check the price like right before he got in front of everybody?
This is his entire modus operandi. This is his entire reason for being president again, is to cash in. So of course he checked.
And this is such a bigger grift than, selling watches or sneakers or anything he was even doing last year. The numbers are very misleading. Like, you're going to hear these huge numbers of multi-billion-dollar market cap. He can still cash out, and he and his allies, that's for sure, the insiders, but they're going to be taking a huge haircut, just the way this stuff works, and it's like laundering money. Because it pretty much is. But in the end, they're still going to be making free money with very low effort.
And just to be clear, it's a haircut based upon the valuation, but not a haircut in real terms. So in other words,
right,
the meme coin could go up several $1 billion worth, but as soon as he starts to dump his, it goes down sort of like in direct proportion, because he's flooding the market and trying to cash out. So it's really just quickly, like, how quickly can I cash out? He's got, I would imagine, having someone ask him that question. And here's the sort of thing that's really sort of like, we're in just like, the gone through the looking glass. People asking him that question, the reporter asking him that question, he's probably like walking off the podium and saying to his people, I want you to sell 10% right now, because there's probably 10% new buyers coming in going like, I want to get part of this Trump gravy train. I mean, that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, and in crypto in general, people are always looking for signals from the whales or the companies. So the big holders or the companies issuing the tokens, just like in mainstream finance, like, what are they going to do? So if you hear that, or if you think that the biggest whale or the issuer of this token is going to hold it or sell more or continue to do more to support it, that influences its price action tremendously. I mean, that's a huge deal. So, I mean, this is going to be a daily, hourly thing for especially for real crypto degenerates, as they call themselves. Like, they will constantly be surveying what Trump is doing, what people around him are talking about, or what's even in a picture for price signals.
Can this crash our economy?
I think so now. Before, even last year, I wouldn't have said, like, I think crypto is in danger of that. But now the sort of penetration into mainstream finance is happening so quickly, and there's so few guardrails. I mean, the Gensler SEC was imperfect, but it broadly had a mandate and did enforcement and tried to crack down on frauds. And we have just ripped that away completely overnight.
Isn't the danger, the danger is not that all this fraud's going on per se, because everybody could be playing in their own sandbox. And if they're defrauding each other and people are losing on investments, it could hurt people, individuals, in certain instances. But the real problem is now that it's becoming institutional, and pensions are investing in this, and it's becoming sort of mainstreamed, and it's given, particularly that ETF veneer makes it seem like, oh, it's an ETF. It theoretically it's based upon something. That's where the problem is. And let me ask you this: there's this, and it feels like it's inevitable. The crypto guys, if I understand, who want crypto because it is unshackled from tyrannical governments, and allows you to be able to, exchange and achieve real freedom. They now want the U.S. government to create a crypto reserve, which means that the U.S. government would buy up billions of dollars of crypto and hold it, which, and tell me if I'm wrong here, which basically artificially inflates or stabilizes and maintains a floor in which the crypto can't drop down, so that it can go to incredible heights and people can sort of mitigate their downside risk. Is that basically what happens here?
Very much so. And I mean, this happens with the stock market too. If someone buys a lot of a stock, the price might go up, but it's a little different in the stock market because price can also be more stable and be influenced by the profits or revenue of the company. But with crypto, it's pretty much all these sort of things like how much is being bought or sold at a given time. There's no underlying cash flow. Bitcoin has gone up a lot in value over the last year, but one reason for that is that there's a guy named Michael Saylor who's borrowing billions of dollars in order to buy Bitcoin. And so if the government starts buying crypto, and it already owns billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and other crypto that's seized in criminal investigations, because lots of criminals use it, that's the only use case, then you're basically just going to inflate the price and have the government be in the position of inflating the bags of billionaire donors and tech people.
Jacob, I can't wait for your book to come out, but I have a feeling we'll be talking to you a couple of times before then. You'll be sure to let us know when we can pre-order this thing. It's up, actually. Do you want people to pre-order it now? Is that better? Or do people time it? Is there some timing?
I don't know about the timing. I just know that pre-orders in general are good. I'm afraid there's not jacket, copy, or cover, but it's on Amazon, Gilded Rage. And if you like what I'm talking about or my work, it's certainly an extension of that.
Elon Musk and the radicalization of Silicon Valley, very timely, and almost it's depressing how appropriate it is for now. But also, in the meantime, also check out Jacob on the AM Quickie. Jacob, thanks so much for your time today. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jacob.
All right, folks, quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Usamah Andrabi, communications director and spokesperson for the Justice Democrats, to see how we can push more progressives into office. Be right back. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Pleasure to welcome back to the program Usamah Andrabi, Communications Director, spokesperson for Justice Democrats. Usamah, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I know you and Emma spoke just after the election. Now we have a little bit more time, and obviously the Trump administration has started. But let's just do a little bit of, looking back, reflecting for a moment. I mean, Justice Democrats came on the scene, I guess now about 8 years ago, and arguably the most success was in 2018, and then 2020 and even 2022 built off that, not with as much, but in a progressive, no pun intended, way.
Jamal Bowman, and Cori Bush.
Cori Bush, and
Summer Lee.
Summer Lee. And then this past year, there was about, I don't know, 40 million more dollars dropped in by AIPAC, essentially, and funded by Republicans, playing in the Democratic primaries. So give me an overall assessment on the project and why the project still, you still have faith in this as a project.
Yeah, I mean, fair question. And I think I still have faith in this project because what it exists to tackle still remains kind of the largest problem within the Democratic Party. You know, I think what we saw in November was a very clear repudiation by a majority of voters in this country, unfortunately, but also a lot of Democratic voters, especially working class voters who have a history of voting for Democrats, saying that this party is no longer fighting for my interests. And obviously, we know the Republican Party is not fighting for working class interests, but that is a failure on the Democratic Party establishment and its leadership, because it's been generations in the making of us working overtime for the interests of corporations and billionaires. And I think everyday people saw that. You know, when we parade around Mark Cuban, it doesn't really matter if we talk about corporate price gouging. Our actions do not meet the words that we're saying. And so, you know, we started in the first Trump administration for the very same reasons, right? The Democratic establishment was not equipped to fight back against Donald Trump and failed to fight back to win the presidency. And we sort of saw the same mistakes happen again. And instead of learning from those mistakes, we're repeating them. And so for us, I think now is more of an urgent time than ever, especially seeing the flurry of executive orders Trump has issued in just the first day. It's clear that we need to usher in a new era in this Democratic Party.
Well, let me ask you the also, I guess, the sort of the other obvious question, like why exert effort within the context of the Democratic Party as opposed to trying to start a third party?
Totally. And I think that's a very fair question. And I think there's going to be people who, one, are disillusioned with electoral politics, which I think is extremely fair. And there's going to be people who are disillusioned with this Democratic Party because they keep promising to do shit that they don't do. And I don't have a lot to say, to those people. We agree the Democratic Party has failed time and time again. What we do also believe is that we've seen what is capable, even by electing this sort of small squad of members of Congress, what we were able to achieve. You know, Cori Bush slept on the steps of the Capitol and kept millions of people housed. You know, we have a ceasefire resolution that millions of people in this country organized around because of like less than 10 members of Congress ushered it forward. So if we can have that much of an impact with less than 10 members in Congress, like imagine what we can do if the majority of the Democratic Party were Justice Democrats. Imagine if the majority of the Democratic Party was working class people. The priorities of the party would be different. And so I think for us, we recognize that the institution infrastructure of this party exists and once fought a little harder for the interests of working class people. And there's still an opportunity to retake this party for what it should be.
I mean, we're talking about maybe 5% at its peak, and that and any impact that you get. I mean, doubling that to 10%, when you're talking, if it's possible to get 20 squad members.
And Kassar is now the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, right? So that is also, I'm 90% sure he was a Justice Democrat, right?
Yeah, we've endorsed
okay.
him, yep.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, that's significant. That's significant.
No, absolutely. I think it's significant. And, our work from the beginning has been about building a bloc in Congress that can actually influence and wield power in the Democratic Party. And obviously we're far away from that. And we've suffered some losses because, things like AIPAC and crypto exist because of Citizens United. And so we're going to have to keep fighting those efforts. It's not like billionaires are going to stop spending money against us. It's not like billionaires are going to stop trying to get rich. But that doesn't mean that working class people shouldn't have people who are willing to fight for them in one of the two parties that exist in Congress.
What is the strategy? I mean, I doubt at this moment that you have well, you tell me. Do you have targets that you want to talk about? Or I imagine at this point you have a list that is, not unlike, what we would have for a guest list here. We're going to keep putting names into the Slack channel, and then we're going to revisit. But do you have targets? Before you get to specifics, tell me the ilk of targets that you're looking at, because I know in the past it's been like the theory has been we're going to go only for blue districts because that way it's cheaper to play in a primary than it is in a general. Are you still of that mindset, or are there general races that you look out there where you can walk into the primary, win because nobody's running because it's considered a safe red district, let's say, that you guys might be actually entertaining? I mean, I'm thinking what happened with Osborne, for instance, in Nebraska? Does that change the strategy a little bit in terms of what you think is actually worth a shot?
I think it changes the strategy that kind of our movement should be thinking about writ large. I think there absolutely should be sort of independent working class candidates in these sort of frontline districts, as they call them, fighting for actual working class values. But our kind of bread and butter remains focusing on deep blue districts because, there's a lot of them that exist. And right now we have a problem within our own party right now. And there's obviously people within the Democratic Party who want us to focus on defeating Republicans. There should be an entire Democratic Party infrastructure that exists to fight Republicans. There's not an infrastructure to fight back against the shittiest Democrats within our own party. And so that has to continue to exist as long as we allow our party to be overrun by kind of corporate Dems. And so our theory of change is still, looking for kind of these deep blue districts, because those are the districts where you don't have the excuse that some of these, border states or John Fetterman or whoever the fuck else thinks that they have as an excuse of being like, well, this just went red, so we have to, throw immigrants and trans kids under the bus. There's no excuse for that in districts in New York or deep blue districts in Chicago or across the country. And so that's still our theory of the case. Just to answer your first question before we get into specifics.
Well, I mean, I am curious as a constituent of Dan Goldman, if that is...
I know you are.
I am a constituent of Dan Goldman, and, he kind of scraped by because progressives split the vote in that race. Uline New came really close, but Mondaire Jones was entered into that race, and that was a huge mistake. I have a suggestion. Do you guys just go down the list of the Democrats, 40 plus, that voted to sanction the ICC for daring to enforce its laws and issue arrest warrants for Netanyahu and other Israeli officials?
That is one of the things I think we're looking at. I think we're looking at all those sorts of votes where you look at, like you said, the second vote that this Congress took, where evidently every Democrat now realized we should be economic populists. The second vote they all took was to protect Benjamin Netanyahu. So I think those Democrats should definitely be exposed, especially in the deep blue districts, for not serving anyone's priorities except maybe Bibi Netanyahu. But we look at a host of things. We look at the demographics of different districts that are more working class, districts that have more people of color, that are younger, tend to be districts that are thirsty for a new sort of generation and leadership. New York 10, I think, is a varied district. It includes Wall Street, it includes Park Slope, it includes parts of a working class Brooklyn. Dan Goldman has unlimited amounts of money as Mr. Levi, and also has APACs with him. And so that's also a consideration that we take. Right now, we are not announcing publicly any specific districts or members we're targeting. We're still doing a lot of the research, and just officially launched our candidate recruitment program last week. And so we've been encouraging everyone, including you, Emma, if you have any working class folks in your districts, in your communities that should challenge your current representative, please nominate them at justicedemocrats.com. And that's sort of where we start from. We want these communities to guide us in the best path forward, because our job is not to just come and parachute into any district and say, this is what's best for you, right? It's up to these folks to let us know they're fed up with their representation and they want someone that serves them better.
What I imagine you have some type of grid where you have different criteria when you're looking at a district. So you get a list. Some district in New York, you get 5 names, and I would imagine you have like a set of like qualities that you're looking for in candidates, and then a set of like deficits you're looking in terms of sitting Congress people, and then some other vertical where it's like, oh, and these are the different things this person's plugged in with this state machine and therefore difficult, or they have this relationship with this union. As you go through these, at the end of the day, like, how do you decide how many you're going to do? Do you just you look at a budget, or you say like, we're going to shoot for 10 of these, we're going to shoot for 5 of these, or we're going to have tiers of support that we're going to add? Like if people attain this grade as, in our grading matrix, we're going to provide this amount of support. How are the different pieces put together? Or is it just like, you got to see how much fundraising comes in?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, frankly, all those things that you named. And it's evolved over time. We've taken different routes since our inception. I think this cycle, especially after, APAC spent $100 million last cycle, crypto spent $150 to $200 million across the cycle. We are trying to look at this cycle and be as fluid as possible. And so we are ideally running as many campaigns as possible. That is going to be, dictated by how much fundraising we can do and the amount of good candidates, first and foremost, that we can find. And so I think the first thing that we look at is candidates, and if we can actually find the right candidates for the right districts. And then from there, depending on fundraising, depending on capacity, we will kind of identify where are the priorities, where aren't they, and be honest with everyone that we're working with about those things, and understand that these things change throughout the campaign cycle, obviously, as well. Sometimes, 2 cycles ago, in the middle of our cycle, redistricting happened, and 2 of our districts went from deep blue districts to becoming Republican districts. And it's like, okay, well, maybe this doesn't make sense anymore. And so those are the sort of things that I think we are trying to be as fluid as possible going into this cycle, knowing that APAC ended the year with $28 million cash on hand, and we're still 2 years ahead of any primary election. We are not up against any less money than we were last cycle. But we do need to be smarter and more organized about who and where we target, and when we choose to kind of shut things down, when we choose to ramp things up.
Do you, I ask, I just don't have an experience in this area. Will you do head fakes? Will you, make it look like you're going to pour all of your chips into one race as a way of slowing down, someone like DMFI's deployment of resources? Do you do stuff like we're going to keep this campaign as quiet as possible for as long as possible. They'll organize on the ground because sometimes some of these incumbents get a little bit confident and all of a sudden they realize, like, wait, in 4 months, I've got to run this race. And I didn't realize this person's built this. I mean, do you do stuff like that? Generically speaking?
Generically speaking, time will tell. I think all of those sorts of things are on the table for us. Obviously, we're not outlining all those things on the table for the APACs of the world to follow us and follow suit with those. But I think right now, last cycle, we had to pause on recruiting new candidates and running new races because we needed to focus on defending our incumbents against APAC's threat. And that was our number one priority. And I think this cycle, what we are very much trying to do is keep everything, all options on the table and all approaches on the table. There are no bad ideas right now. We've gone through a few cycles and we're not afraid to try new things, afraid to do things completely different than we did 6 years ago, 4 years ago, because the environment is not the same, right? In 2017, 2018, the first cycle we ran, we won a lot of those races because no one expected any of these people to have a chance of winning these races. And the billionaires were not organized, right? Joe Crowley's and the APACs of the world were not organized to fight back against this. And slowly we've seen them do it, right? Because of us, frankly, APAC started a fucking super PAC. And spent $22 million in its first cycle. And last year spent $100 million. And so obviously they are organizing. And so we're trying to do the same on our end, organizing our donors, organizing our funders, and just organizing ourselves to be as fluid and available to target as many people and move around where we need to in silence or not.
Does it make sense? And this is a hard question. I mean, it's one that I think I wouldn't know how to answer this question, but does it make sense to say, like, okay, you're running in this district. There is no point in sticking your neck out in terms of Israel or, Netanyahu. We're not in a position right now to impact this administration's foreign policy whatsoever. There's in a million years, it wouldn't make a difference, to Donald Trump's plan to, give the West Bank to Miriam Adelson. And you won't have the ability to impact crypto policy from right here. So don't make that your, cri de coeur either at this point. Like, just keep your powder dry on these things. So that you don't attract $15 million. Because I imagine now, like, if I was to be interviewing your counterpart at the DMFI, it would be a lot less, it would be a lot more hostile. But if I asked them, where are you going to deploy? They're going around going like,
But my counter to that would be that Dave Min criticized Netanyahu so slightly. And you know how much money the Israel lobby poured in? I don't know, but it was millions of dollars. Yeah. So you might as well do the popular thing, which now there's exit polls about how much this hurt Harris in the race. You might as well do that, especially if you're in a working class.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Right,
Where does that fall? Because part of the reason why Dave Min got all that money, I think, is because they had all this money, and they need to go back to their donors and say, we're doing something with it,
or to make an example out of him.
Yeah, I mean, but how many times can you make an example before your donors go like, wait a second, this whole example thing, it seems like you keep making examples.
Yeah, I think we've heard that kind of recommendation from a lot of folks in the establishment for years who are just like, look, just don't talk about Palestinian people, then they won't hate you. And it's like, okay, both of those things I think are untrue. One, which is like, they hate us no matter what. It doesn't really matter how much we talk about Palestinian people. AIPAC knows that the type of members we're going to elect are the type of members who will vote to condition military funding, who will vote to embargo
You
aid.
can't fool them.
You can't. I mean, and we're not trying to. Our goal is not to elect candidates who you don't know what their values are. I think we have about 400 of those already in Congress. And so our goal is to be very clear about what our values are, about what the policy positions are, be it on Gaza, be it on crypto, be it on, unions. That should be clear. It doesn't mean that it has to be the focus of any campaign, right? It doesn't mean that Gaza or Palestinian rights or ending funding for Israeli weapons is the most important issue in every single district. It's not. We understand that it's not, and it should not be the only thing that people talk about. But we should not be afraid to speak out on those things, because that is, I think, what we are seeing is the failure of this Democratic Party is failing to speak out on behalf of what is clearly the majority's will, be it ending a genocide, be it ending corporate price gouging, or raising taxes on billionaires, or passing Medicare for all. All these things are universally popular, and the only reason we don't do them is because we have super PACs and lobbies that spend more money to tell us not to. And so our hope is that we are not a Democratic Party that is just like willing to throw Palestinians under the bus for certain elections, because it's, Palestinians, you get to do that because they feel like faraway people. But this cycle, you saw it with the same cadre of corporate Democrats after the election. 5 seconds after the results come in, they're like, yep, we hate trans kids and immigrants too. Absolutely, no problem. Willing to throw them under the bus. And that is not what I believe should be the values of the Democratic Party, nor should it be the values of folks who we're trying to elect.
Do you think that wins that you guys will actually provide an example for other lawmakers to say, like, oh, I actually can win holding these positions? Like, I'm sure, of the, X number of politicians out there, some, genuinely just don't care about perceived Palestinians to be human. And some are like, I don't mind throwing trans people under the bus, or immigrants, or, or frankly, giving this away. But I also imagine there are some who are like nervous. And do you think that your victories, looking forward, hypothetically, and obviously it translates more into, blue districts, like, apples to apples, will freeze up some other lawmakers to say, like, okay, this is not as much of a risk as I had perceived it before?
I would hope so, because, I think the inverse of that is what AIPAC is trying to do. It's what crypto is trying to do, right? They spend millions and millions of dollars because they want to scare everyone who's already in Congress to not take these positions. And I think we've seen, obviously, it was a slow and steady kind of race to get people to support the ceasefire resolution. But I think you saw a lot of Dems who have not said anything about Palestinians in their lives come out and support the ceasefire resolution, an increasing amount who support an arms embargo on both the House and the Senate side. And I think what happens when we win these sorts of elections by electing working class candidates in working class districts that are unafraid to speak out for Palestinians or against corporations or whatever, is you show that, this is not only possible, but it's clearly what people want, and maybe actually more popular than whatever the fuck you guys have been doing. And I think that's just the reality of the situation. And at any point, any of these members are just as likely to lose for not speaking out on any of these issues if you make it a point. And so I think our job also in this movement is to make them feel what AIPAC makes them feel, make them feel like they can lose their fucking seat if they don't speak out for what we want them to speak out on. That's what we so often see, frankly, with progressive members, because we've sort of created this cycle of accountability where we believe that progressives should listen to the voices of everyday people, and they do. But you don't have that for a majority of members. And I think that's the work we have to do. And we have to put the fear of God in them, frankly.
Where can people either A, sort of like nominate or, put in a name for someone they think should be a candidate from their district, or B, donate to your organization, which is going to bring essentially campaign know-how on how to win with these positions and what you need to do? I mean, you guys have the blueprint, at least as insurgents in these situations. So where can people donate and also submit candidates?
Yeah, you can do both on justicedemocrats.com. /nominate is where the nomination page is. But if you go to the website, you can see both nominate and donate up on the very top. And yeah, exactly. Our goal has always been to be infrastructure for working class people to be able to run for Congress. I think, yesterday was the 15th anniversary of Citizens United. And in the last 15 years, we have seen $58 billion spent on congressional elections. The cost per cycle of congressional elections has doubled from $5 to $10 billion. And we saw during Trump's inauguration nearly $1 trillion worth of 5 dudes sitting behind him. We are very rapidly descending into this full state of oligarchy, and working class people can't even afford to run for Congress. And so that's what we exist to do, is help everyday people feel like they can represent their communities when they've been told for decades they can't. So yeah, justicedemocrats.com/nominate if you want to nominate.
We will put links at majority.fm and in our podcast and YouTube description of Justice Democrats. Usamah Andrabi, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks.
Yeah, it occurred to me when he was talking, and I just wanted to before I lost it, make this point really quickly about Gaza. And I just think that we maybe need to reconsider how much foreign policy did have an effect on this election a little bit. And
we know that 29% of Harris voters
or non-voters.
Of Harris non-voters, I should say, or who should have been Harris voters, stayed home. And as far as I can tell, that's the largest plurality of any of the cohorts' reasons for not going out and voting. And I would imagine, and we've talked about the knock-on effects too.
I would just, in the districts that Justice Democrats are going to be targeting, if you are against the genocide in Gaza, that is going to be an immediate, basically, I think, elevation for your campaign. There may be a lot of money that gets poured in, and that's something that we have to fight. But I do think that there's a lot of young people that see this as a litmus test, and also working class people in some of these,
like Iraq was,
right. And again, Obama's opposition to the Iraq War was a huge part of his appeal. But now that we have, it's the same reason our lawmakers don't understand TikTok and social media. They're all old and don't understand how connected I think so many younger people are. And the idea that live streamed brutality of this scale didn't have an effect on this election, particularly when people already feel like the Democrats don't represent their interess. Of course, that's connected to the fact that since it's the first time since the 1960s that the Democrats lost the lowest income bracket. I mean, to me, I feel like you can definitely draw a connection there because it's such an easy narrative for people to rightly latch onto. It's just you don't get, my life's not getting better. It's rents through the roof, and this is what your priority is.
Going out the door.
Right, and that's they don't understand. The Democrats don't even understand the media environment that most of us are baked in, and for their entire base, unless they're just watching cable news or whatever, young people saw the brutality that they were inflicting on Palestine, and I think that has broad, depressing effects, particularly for people who understand what it's like for their ancestors to have experienced enslavement or genocide as well.
I think we're going to have the opportunity to test that theory. I mean, I think we should.
I think it goes far, and it goes to the Democrats embracing the national security state in Trump's first term. I think the embracing Liz Cheney was a outgrowth of sort of Russiagate-y, we need the generals to stand up for us. And it's just insane that after the financial crisis, we had a candidate run on Goldman Sachs speeches, and then the Democrats were the ones saying we need to defend generals. I don't agree with what Trump's doing and the way he's attacking the generals. The generals need to have, it's been decades and decades since someone needs to cut down the Pentagon to size. And so when Trump gets airplay saying he's going after them and he's attacking the deep state, it's to his credit. It's not a surprise that he's looking popular right now because a lot of this stuff has been low-hanging fruit that should have been dealt with.
Right. And Harris, the only chance it seems like to me that she would have had in this election was if she were to kill Biden, aka throw him under the bus, differentiate herself from him entirely. That would have been very difficult for her to do. But now that the specter of this, this aging racist is hopefully behind us, then I do think that frees up Democrats to have a more rational position on this when the leader of the party isn't actively committing a genocide.
Nancy Pelosi has some stock
Hakeem
tips to
Jeffries.
get.
I just mean, at least for candidates in the future, I hope that is a more, especially also in a midterm when there's a Republican president, my hope is that that opens up more room for there to be more sanity on
I
this
hope so
issue.
too, but I would de-emphasize the gerontocratic element of that, because I think it's just like reality of the situation that might pivot that, because Hakeem Jeffries is not any less committed than these old folks are to Israel. And I think there's a lot of younger folks who are going to be just like that too.
I think people should be open to Dianne Feinstein getting back into the race.
Yeah, good point.
It looks like Free Palestine is now hate speech on TikTok. So,
well, the ADL says that is anti-Semitic, but not a salute.
I give my heart to you.
Not giving out his heart.
What are you talking about?
Not the Roman salute.
I give my heart to you.
Hey, I know everyone's on edge, but we're trying to push this IHRA definition of anti-Semitism through, and we can't have any distractions about the richest man doing Sig Heils while we're trying to get, college students kicked out of Columbia.
Repeat, regarding being the opposition, resisting Trump, and or working to stop his project at every opportunity, what's your assessment of Bernie Sanders voting to confirm Trump's appointment? Trump's appointment?
Rubio, that's the
okay. Shouldn't he be voting against Trump's entire agenda instead of being the greater fool and working with Trump where we can? I mean, I think, look, this is an issue that, particularly in terms of confirmation and stuff. There was guys like Russ Feingold, who I think was one of the better senators we've had, who religiously would vote for confirmees, whatever. Almost always, including Supreme Court justices, because he felt like the president's won. They, at the very least, get the opportunity to staff their administration. Were I a senator, would I vote for Marco Rubio? I think probably I would just vote no against all of them. But I think there is an argument that, Marco Rubio's, qualified to hold the position.
Yeah.
You may not like his politics associated with it, but you're not going to like the politics of anybody that Trump nominates. And you put somebody in there who's somewhat qualified, I can see voting for that. But there are other ones, personally, Hegseth, I want him to be the Secretary of Defense. Ugh. As repulsive and disgusting as he is, both as a human being and his incompetence, but I don't like that agency, and I think there are going to be horrible things that are done there, and to have someone have an avatar of that who is so horrible, I think there's value in that. I would have preferred Gates as the DOJ just for that same reason. Now, it's easy for me to say that as a YouTube host. If I was a politician, I don't know that I could actually vote for him. If I had to vote for him, I don't think I could actually do it. Yeah. But let's also be clear here. There's not a single conferee that the Democrats can stop.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to stop it.
Also, I just want to respond to this because this IM it's a little frustrating to me. Donnan says, Emma continues to demonstrate she does not actually know low economic strata white people. I can promise you that Palestinians are not their concern. It is the concern of the high educated bohemian class, which is way different from majority of white working class people. So you gotta listen better, because I said people in the urban areas, I was referring to Black people and also Latino people who the Democrats lost in droves in urban areas of the country that the Justice Democrats are targeting. I'm not speaking specifically about white people in this instance, but you just got to listen a little bit better, because those are not the districts that the Justice Democrats are targeting or who I was referring to.
Also, I don't think you have your personal experience notwithstanding, the foreign spending on imperial pursuits like Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel actually does affect. I would point out the Undiplomatic podcast, How Black Americans View Ukraine, Taiwan, and America's Global Role with Chris Schell, who's done great research on that. So false.
I would also, as long as we're all being pedantic here, one, it's nominee. People are saying nominee. I know. I just thought the conferee. I thought there was a word for someone who's trying to get confirmed, but I guess it's just a nominee. The other thing is that actually Harris won the bottom 20th percentile, I believe it is, of income earners. What she did lose is under 100,000 because she lost the 100,000 to 80,000.
I read she lost under 50K, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
She lost, I think, like the middle cohort between 150, I think 100K and 50K, or 50K and 100K. I think below 50 she won.
Yeah.
Confirmand. Maybe that's after you've been confirmed. Folks, your support makes it possible for me to buy a dictionary. Go to jointhemajorityreport.com and become a member. Support the program. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you get to IM us on the in the fun half. And don't forget, just days where the Majority Report dog collar is on sale, $10. Literally, these things are flying out the door. It's for your doggy. It's for your yoga mat. It's for, I'm not going to kink shame anybody. I think that people still do that stuff with the dog collars. Go for it.
Yeah. Perfect for.
We got 3 different colors too, so you never get bored. Never get bored. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop. Get your coffee now. I am reading a lot about coffee inflation that's going to hit very, very, very soon. And so go out, buy yourself a $5 bag of Just Coffee at justcoffee.coop. Emma, ESVN.
ESPN, Bradley and I will be back on Thursday. We'll be talking about the divisional round and that great weekend that we had, and previewing the conference championships. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Confirmand pertains to religion. Okay, that's, I guess, after you get confirmed, like age 15 or 16.
I was confirmed. Was JD Vance confirmed?
I think I did for Hebrew school. I think we had confirmation.
Okay. I'm going to try to out-Catholic JD Vance, even though I haven't went to church in 12 years, unless I'm home. Left Reckoning last night, we have Abdel Halim Abdelrahman on to talk about the assault on the West Bank, the failure of Democrats in the past 15 months to stop a genocide. We also talked about in the post-game, Doge, Vivek Ramaswamy getting the hook unceremoniously, and now they're going to try to run him in Ohio. Ohio, don't let Vivek be your governor, please.
Patreon.com/reckoning. In the words of Ann Coulter, I do not think Ohio will vote for Vivek.
Don't surprise us in the wrong way.
Yeah, so wait, is DeWine term limited out? Is that the situation? Okay, that's interesting. That primary will be interesting if Vivek's comments come back, because his anti-white comments.
And the lieutenant governor was tapped as the replacement for Vance, so I think that's also partially why it seems like a bit of a more open field for Vivek. But also, he's Vivek, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wait, who is a replacement for Vance?
John Husted is his name. He's DeWine's lieutenant governor. He will be taking place for Vance in the Senate, which is also why it was 99-0 for that Rubio vote, because he had not been.
Vance wasn't there.
Been officially.
But Husted, didn't he run for something recently?
I'll double check. I'm not sure.
There's something about Husted that made news. I don't think I would otherwise know the lieutenant governor of Ohio. See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks. 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman!
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Danner.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males...
Psych. Fuck them. Oh.
Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. All lives matter.
Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on! Fuck 'em. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday! Happy birthday to me, Jew boy!
I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on! Come on! Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back. Sam Seder.
Hello.
I'm the big one. Majority Report. Fun half. Greek combat masseur. Sam, can I get a shofar for my baby boy Julian? Yes, you can. Matty Morin, if Harris would have physically killed Biden on stage during the DNC, the Dems would have blown Trump out like McGovern.
Well, I'll just say Hubert Humphrey said that he endorsed